Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Another great episode. A lot of stuff went down, so let's break everything down. First of all, we had the team finally back in present day, which is pretty awesome. They end up meeting another person like Enoch. His name is Noah. And then quickly, I kept wondering why that actor, it kept bothering. I was like, I know him from something, but I can't place it. But it's Joel David Moore. I think that's it. Yeah. God, he's the movie Dodgeball, Grandma's Boy. He played a recurring role in the TV show Bones. And I was like, oh, I was so glad when that finally clicked in my head what I remembered him from. But nevertheless, basically, the team is trying to take the knowledge that they have now and try and apply it to try, okay, like how do we begin these steps of trying to save the world? First, they see there's a signal. It's like, oh man, this signal light is coming from the sky. Oh, it turns out it's not actually coming from the sky. It's actually coming from here on Earth. That basically it's the same signal that called the Kree here before. So now what they're trying to do is track that down and shut it down. It tricked me out. First of all, I'm like, oh my God, they ran into Piper. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Haven't seen, oh my God, you get reunited. It's like, which I should have thought was a little suspicious that she was by herself. It's like no other S.h.i.e.L.D. agents are with you. Makes you wonder what happened to the rest of them. Are they still not captured? Or are they locked up? Is Piper the only one that's kind of free to go just for the purposes of, okay, we'll keep you kind of like within arm's reach so you can kind of basically drag the entire team out. I wasn't expecting that to be a full-blown trap like it was. I was like, oh man. It was a little suspicious the moment they were like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's kind of put in here shabbily. I was like, you don't think Piper, and then she pulls the gun on. I was like, what? I was like, that sucks. The first friendly face they makes sense coming back. Well, I mean, second, Noah. But then it's like, an ally that you trusted, and it's like, oh, she betrayed them. And it's like, what? Why? So then it turns out she did tell Hale everything. Didn't Fitz actually tell her everything too? Or did he not? I don't remember. Cause the question is, it's like, no, the way, Piper was putting it, it's like, no, they know the entire truth. They're just like, no, we want you to come in peacefully. But it's like, no, they show up with a whole bunch of people trying to kill the team. And it's like, wait, what the hell is up with that? And like, I don't get it. Why? For what purpose? And then it turns out the one that was there, the kind of assassin type that was there, was actually her daughter, played by Dove Cameron. Probably best known for like the Descendant movies on Disney and like Liv and Maddie. I've never watched any of those, but I am familiar because I've caught it from time to time because my nieces watch Disney quite a bit. Nevertheless, I was wondering what her whole situation was. It's like, because it's like, oh man, she's a huge fan of Quake, but her mom's hunting down Quake or whatever. And I'm like, and it turns out, oh, you're the one that literally went in there and cut off Yo-Yo's arms. I was like, oh man, I thought that was something that Cassius did to him. Maybe that was kind of the whole point, to make it seem like it was something Cassius and them did. It's like, no, like Yo-Yo got in that situation without that. Not like, I'm curious. I would assume that they set her up with a prosthetic arms, like they did, where Coulson has one, maybe she'll have two, and maybe in that instant, like whatever that situation. Because like, if we go by the time period we saw before, like when Robin was with May and everything, and we're seeing things unfolding, it's like, oh, Mac is gone, and we saw like Yo-Yo had both of her hands, so it must be that they gave her prosthetic arms. I mean, they have the technology for it, so why wouldn't they? So, but it's like, I wasn't expecting her losing her arms in such a brutal way. I mean, it's going to be brutal either way, but just like the reason why she got her arms cut off, because she was trying to stop, I don't know what those weapons are called. Like, I always associate them with Xena, which is kind of interesting, because the fact is, Lucy Lawless was in the show. Not for long, but for a little bit she was in the show, which was kind of interesting. But, yeah, that's kind of Xena's main weapons. I don't know what they are. I always describe them as just ring weapons. I forgot like what the actual name for them is, It's actually kind of interesting too, because it popped up in Black Panther as well. I just thought about that. God, I'm terrible with names. It's, well, T'Challa's kind of ex, like on and off girlfriend, essentially, potentially future wife/queen. She uses those weapons in Black Panther. Also, I really appreciate there was kind of a little nod to, like, I think Thor Ragnarok, because they're like, oh yeah, what's happened lately? It's like, oh yeah, we got Noah's paying attention. It's like, oh, what weird things has happened? It's like, oh yeah, an Asgardian was seen walking the streets. I was like, I can only assume that was Thor, wasn't it? Because I'm blanking, but wasn't their whole thing like in Thor Ragnarok when him and Loki were looking for Odin? Wasn't it like people ran up to Thor and were like, "Oh my God, let's take a picture," because it's like, yeah, like he's an Avenger, so like everyone knows Thor's face anyway. Plus, he's had his own misadventures, but obviously, like the Avengers stuff, it's like the most like noticeable stuff. So, but nevertheless, that was just kind of an interesting wink and nod because like I'm vaguely remembering that, but I think that was the case. I think it was that. So, nevertheless, I thought that was kind of neat. Now that it reminds me, what about that other Asgardian? Wasn't he known as the Berserker? We haven't seen him in a while. Did he die? I actually don't remember what happened to him. I felt like they went their separate ways. Now that I'm thinking about it, he might have died. It's been a while. It was like season 3 or something he popped up again. I don't remember. It's been a little while. Nevertheless, because I'm about to say that's the only other like Asgardian that's kind of like that would be kicking it on Earth, So nevertheless, I think I remember him sacrificing himself or something like that. But nevertheless, moving on. With this whole situation, it's sad because it is like even when you had the intent of coming back to change the future, what happens? Things still kind of play out the same way. Because the fact is that Yo-Yo's losing her arms. The fact is Coulson's sick, which you even have Yo-Yo being like, "Yo, Coulson, maybe you should get checked out," and he's like, "No. Make sure everyone else is good and taken care of first." So it's just like everything is slowly going in that direction, and you have Daisy being worried about it to the point she doesn't even want to go out on missions because she's like, I mean, the fact of the matter is she still has the thing inside of her, so she can't use her abilities because that blocker that's still on her. So, but at some point in time, whether it's something that the team finds a workaround for, or just something naturally happens that kind of like gets rid of it so she can use her powers again. But obviously, it's going to go in that direction. But I'm trying to understand like why all of this is happening, because it seems like hell is kind of in the center of it. Like, why are you trying to destroy S.h.i.e.L.D. and everything? Like, who are you? Because the people that were with Ruby weren't humans. They were machines. It didn't look like they were were they LMDs? They didn't necessarily seem like LMDs. They seemed more like some like, I never know what the proper term would be. Android cyborg type of thing. Maybe they were, but I mean, I would assume like all that information died like making LMDs. I mean, not unless, Radcliffe's research is still around. I mean, not unless they got access to it when they started like going through all like the S.h.i.E.L.D. facilities and their data and stuff like that, because they are most wanted. Is that what they're going to do with the second half of the season? Like, obviously this whole second half of the season is going to be about like trying to prevent the destruction of the world and everything. But the fact is they keep saying most wanted. Yes, it's because they literally are the most wanted. But I'm wondering, is that kind of like a reference to the whole like, there's a whole aspect of like, like a couple years back, they were, like only like 2 years back, they were having that whole thing about like they were going to make like a spin-off to this called Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D. Most Wanted. It was going to be about Hunter and Bobby. Probably more, but it never came to be. So it makes you wonder, is they kind of taking that concept and they're just blending it into this story? Like maybe they had some rough ideas and maybe they're just incorporating it in the story that they've already kind of have set up. Now they're like, oh, this would be a perfect time to kind of combine those so that it kind of lives on in a successor type of way of like the continuation of the story. But nevertheless, because it seems like going back to it that all they want is like, in particular, it's like, oh, I went after them, they're forced to him because I want Daisy. It's like, oh, for it seems like she's a big fan of Daisy, and she's asking her mom like, oh, do you really think you're the good guy? It's like, oh, S.h.i.E.L.D. was kind of heralded as being good guys and now they're treated as the bad guys, but do you ever wonder about you being a good guy? And it's like, whatever. Her mom's like, no, I do what I need to, and she's like, oh, I'm doing all this for your sake. So it's like, what is that about? What is Ruby's situation? Is she an Inhuman, which I don't think she is because the weapon she's using and stuff like that? Is she kind of an LMD herself? Like, what that? I mean, there's so many questions and we still have like so little information. Because it seems like they want Daisy. So the question is, do they know about the future? Are they trying to make the future happen? But what would be the benefit of that? Because all of humanity gets wiped out. So there's got to be something else. Like they need Daisy for something. And whatever they try to use Daisy for ultimately ends with her basically destroying the world. Maybe they want to amplify her powers to get something. I don't know. And that's why, because like naturally Daisy shouldn't have the strength. And it's something she constantly talked about. She doesn't have the power to literally rip the world in half like that. So like I said, not unless someone amplified her powers in this particular case, like doing whatever it is they're doing. For what purpose? I don't know. Hell's like trying to build a new team up and everything. So it's like, which I'm wondering on some level, would that include Hunter and Bobby, or particular Bobby? So would that kind of like incorporate the whole like most wanted storyline? Also, what is up with Hunter? I mean, the fact of the matter is like you couldn't really do anything about that whole situation, could they? Because like technically, I mean, depends on when exactly in the present they return to, like what day exactly. Like, was Fitz literally frozen like hours ago in cryostasis? So what about Hunter? And I mean, because they can't interact with them because they're going to be messing with the whole like time space continuum. That's a conversation that literally hasn't even come up yet, but that's still something you have to worry about because you don't want to end up bumping into Enoch because you might tell him about his future, or maybe you do, and that's ultimately what made him decide to do what he needed to do anyway, because he went into it knowing like, oh yeah, I'm ultimately going to die because I ended up running into Fitz, who's already been through all of this. Maybe. Then there's a whole situation about Robin and her mom. I mean, to be fair, like we're still, like I said, we're all setting it up to go down that route where like other Yo-Yo was like, oh yeah, like, and we saw like that episode with Robin when she was a little girl, seeing kind of everything unfolding. So we're still probably going to be heading in that direction, and that's got to be sucky because it's like it's one thing to be going into something not knowing, but it's like no, you know pretty much the end goal to everything, and so we're going to probably be seeing that storyline again. I mean, it's kind of interesting because let's not forget that storyline took place quite a bit into the future too, like in like one in like 2019, 2020, stuff like that. Like so, a couple years into the future, like obviously it's back to present day. So I'd assume it's 2017, 2018, roughly, essentially. So then you also have to think about the Coulson situation, which the Coulson situation is like, the way Yo-Yo talked about it, it's like that was a catalyst. That's where everything kind of went wrong, is because everyone tried their best to resurrect Coulson. And maybe when they try to resurrect him or try to save him, it coincided with whatever his deal is with, he made with the Ghost Rider, and that maybe like that ended up turning into a problem all in itself. Maybe that fed into this whole situation of what ultimately led to the Earth being killed. I don't know, because it's like, is it because Hell and them don't know what's at stake, or is it because they do? Like, you know, there's so much we don't know, especially because she's a high-ranking member of the military. She's basically stepping up now because Talbot's gonna in the state that he was in because of the LMDs and everything. So because you know you had Yo-Yo and Mac actually having that conversation. It's like, no, we can't believe whatever that whole Yo-Yo situation was, because that could have easily been, you know, she could have been used by Cassius to either manipulate you or manipulate me. So it's like we can't take anything she said at face value. But even now, you know, even when it was like after her arms were cut off, Yo-Yo was like, oh my god, it's happening, just like, you know, the other Yo-Yo said. And it's just like, dude, it's that sad situation of like, you almost feel like there's nothing you can do that can change, which does beg the question. Like, we do see that Deacon ended up following them. Did not expect that twist. I really love that. Maybe Deacon might just happen to be like because it's not like, I mean, because that's kind of something we have to think about. Like, not unless we just never saw him do any of that stuff. I mean, to be fair, with that whole Robin situation, when we saw her as a little girl and just everything kind of getting to the point where it is in the future, it's like, we didn't see everything and everybody. We don't know what exactly happened to Mac. We never saw what happened to Daisy after. It's just like, oh, we still know that Daisy's heading towards destroying the world, essentially. But it's like, we still don't know what happened to Daisy leading up to that. We saw that one camera, kind of showing Daisy kind of going off on her own. And it's like, oh, and sometime after that, the world split and got destroyed. So that's about it. So there's still a lot of gaps. But the thing is, like, Deacon wasn't in any of that. So it kind of makes you wonder, is he kind of a anomaly? That the fact of the matter is him coming back wasn't something that originally happened. So meaning that things are changing, and maybe he can help be the change. Or maybe it's a situation of like, ultimately he would have always came back, and it's just kind of destiny still playing itself out. Ultimately, we'd have to wait and see. I did like the fact is that he got super crazy about it. I got super drunk on Zima, stuffed his face playing games and stuff. And then when Daisy comes to bail him out and everything, Daisy's like, you know, like, I was worried you were going to rat us out. He's like, what? I know you guys are super covert and everything. I wouldn't rat you out. I was like, really? Because you literally did that back in your time period. You were selling people out to the Kree. He's like, okay, yes, you got a point there, but this, you know, this is different. I'm different. So I kind of glad things got worked out. I even love when they went to go check on Yo-Yo, and then like, you know, Daisy's being there for Mac, and you see Deacon just standing there in the background, kind of waving really quickly. I thought that was kind of nice. So. Then there's also the whole beacon situation, which was it was set up as a bomb, which I'm assuming it killed Noah because he tried to block it. But we also know there's like multiple monoliths that were put there. So was that the purpose of, were they purposely sent there to call? I don't seem like it was necessarily to kill them. I would assume because they had some idea that, oh, obviously they take it to a place where, they'd hide valuable stuff. Like that's what that place is meant for. And then we saw those 3 monoliths. It exploded near those 3 monoliths. So maybe it's supposed to represent the fact is not that those are destroyed. There is no they can't try and time travel again to fix things or escape. Maybe that plays into it. Maybe it's just destiny that it ended up exploding in front of the 3 monoliths. Maybe that turns into something in itself. You know, like I said, there are so many different directions this could go. I'm super excited because we're jumping into the second half of things and we're still lost. Like we figured out a lot of the future stuff, but we still don't know. We know key things about what happened that kind of led to the end of the world, but there are still huge chunks that we as the audience, as well as the characters themselves, that still have no idea what's in store for them, you know? So, and also, like I said, the thing I'm probably the most interested in is that whole Ruby situation. Like, what are you? Apparently there's a whole school situation, which is like, I'm assuming that's like a school of training assassins and stuff like that. So, why are you so after Daisy? Is it for your own mom's sake? Is it for your sake? Like, you claim to be a fan of Daisy's, but is it because you know what Daisy's capable of? Like, what are you? Are you human? Are you half something else? Are you inhuman? Like, there's so many questions that have to be considered. And I'm very interested to see what happens going forward, especially in the next episode. Also, really quickly, I caught glimpses of the preview. It's like, oh yeah, all the stuff that they've basically been through over the past 5 years. I even love there's that moment there in, was it John Nichols' van? And they're just talking about like basically everything that they've been through over the course of this series, going up against LMDs, going to the future, being trapped inside of the framework, fighting Daisy's mom, fighting Daisy's dad, just stuff like that. I just thought that was, and then like for May, it's like her worst thing was like, and dancing. Ugh, I just love that. So that was a very nice touch. Also, I feel kind of bad for Piper with that whole situation because, you know, she probably blames herself. It's like, well, she kind of ratted the team out and everything. I was like, well, no, I thought you guys were good. You know, I tried to fight it. You know, I told everyone the truth about you, but, you know, still under these circumstances. And because of her, you know, she led them into a trap, which led to Yo-Yo losing her arms and everything. So that kind of sucks. Like I said, I'm curious to see what the potential, like, maybe she brought it up, but maybe I missed it. The whole, like, situation of where the rest of team agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. are, which is weird to kind of refer to them as that. It's just because I'm so used to being like, oh, Team Flash, Team Arrow, Team Supergirl, Team Legends type of situation. So I think it kind of like stumbles in my mouth, just like where the rest of S.h.i.e.L.D. is, kind of how I should put it. But like I said, we would just have to wait and see how everything unfolds going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good